Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. As you know, the Chrysler 383 is one of their finest engines, and Myles has got one in for some light recommissioning at his garage, so he's going to take us through the teardown, measurement, cleanup, and partial reassembly of his 1966 Chrysler 383. This is the engine that's going in the 1966 Monaco that he's redoing this winter, and he was kind enough to record for us the teardown. So hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in a minute.
Got the pan off. No big surprises except for this guy. When I went to dump the excess oil out of the oil pan, this guy was in the oil at the bottom of the pan. And that looks a lot like a rod nut bolt to me. And that is freaky. So I thought we would just kind of check everybody. Crank turns over very easily. Okay, we got all four on the first two, all four on the second, all four on the third pair, and the fourth. So what the hell? Like, where does that come from? Moving right along then, we'll start ripping those apart and kicking those pistons out. Okay, got everything disassembled. That was pretty easy. I don't see any major problems. No big scratches in the crank. Crank spins over so easily. I wish my Buick engine was that easy. It just seems like free power when it has no resistance like that. There's not a scratch in that crank anywhere that I can see. Take the dirtiest rag I can find, give it a wipe. I think that's just amazing. It's going to be beautiful. I really am tempted not to take that apart at all. But it kind of does look a little greasy back there, so I'm thinking the rear main was starting to seep. So we should do that much at all, at least. But that is awesome. Okay, early scare with the extra nut, but so far so good. Everybody was set up. Looking at these bearings inside here, I don't see any issues here either. See how clean that is. There's no copper showing anywhere. I'll do a plastic gauge on them anyway, just because we can access them, but they're in excellent condition. I doubt very much we're going to need bearings on this guy. Probably just rings. And there's nothing wrong with the rings, just I noticed the oil ring has lost most of its tension. You can barely see it sticking out past the piston wall. Not much spring there. Even these compression rings, it really doesn't take much force to squeeze those together. Look at the gap. Like, holy shit, is that gap big? Anyway, I think we'll throw some rings at it and a hone on the block. Okay, I hope I can show this. It's not that easy to get light down in there. But those walls are really clean. There's no big scratches in there of any kind. There's no rust or pitting of any kind. This is going to be an easy cleanup. We'll get in there with the hone, do a few passes, put some new rings in it, slap it back together. Always a good day when there's no surprises. Take the engine apart, No big scratches in those piston walls, no scratches in the bearings. You know, swap some rings, give it a hone, slap it back together. This is going to be an easy one. Got in the garage tonight, did a little more cleaning, got the crank separated, pulled out, went inside and just removed the bearings, cleaned them all. Everything looks extremely good in here for a car. We checked the odometer, it says 43,000. It's very possible it's got 143,000. The body is really clean on this car, but what do I know? Either way, this engine is in really good condition. And that just makes me feel great. I doubt it needs main bearings or rod bearings, but we're going to find out. I cleaned up the crank here. So just gave it a quick wipe down. I haven't blown it out or anything. I do a visual inspection, and then I want to drop it back in the engine, throw some plastic gauge on it, and see if we're going to need bearings. But I don't think so. This thing looks so good already. Took everything apart again after we torqued it down to 85 foot-pounds. And now we are just plastic gauging everything. If you can see on my plastic gauge, that's 0015. The book calls for 0015 to 0025. And as you can see, between, or for the white area, we are under 0015. So that's about, it's a little less than 0015. Let's call it 0017. It's certainly quite a bit bigger than 002. So 017 maybe, right in there. Well within spec. And they're all the same. Next in line here. Second journal. Line up the edge. You can see that the crush is a little less than 0015, but certainly larger than 002. Well within spec. This engine has just been babied. Very little wear on this big block 383. So do I think we need to change bearings? No. We're not going to have to change main bearings. We're not going to have to change rod bearings. I mean, I'll plastic gauge those as well, but I can tell just by eyeballing them. They're in fantastic condition. No weird pieces of anything have gone through there. So those are going to be fantastic as well. We'll give it a hone. We'll throw some rings at it. Just because I want to up some compression. I'll likely mill the heads if my brother-in-law is game for that. And then we'll try to find some thin steel head gaskets, and we'll maintain at the 10-to-1 advertised compression on this factory 4-barrel big block Dodge. So that's the plan. I'll yank the crank back out of the block, and we can proceed with detailing all the inside of the block and get everything prepped. Okay, I went ahead and cleaned up the surfaces of the block. I started with, I'll just show you here, file with some 180 grit, and then moved up to 400 grit, and finished with my Durablock sanding block, which is nice and square. And this is the surface that we have now to throw new head gaskets on. Looks great. The other side is also prepared. So both surfaces are ready to see some new head gaskets. Your Mopar guys. It's a B383, September of 22. And it also says, or I don't know why it's September 9/22 must mean nothing, because here on the side of the block it's August 23rd, 65. So next I'm going to clean those cylinders up and throw a hone in there. If I work at it, I can get the nail stuck in there, but I mean barely. And considering the lack of wear on the bearings, like I think it's a 0.001718 clearance, I think this engine might actually have 45,000 miles on it, which is just amazing. I mean, the car does look pretty clean. Lower fender survived. I'm not sure what's hiding behind that low piece of chrome down there. That might be awful, and just a little bit of rot in those quarters. So this is a very good engine. Okay, I went through and gave it a couple rounds of honing, and as you can see, there's a couple low spots still in the cylinder. I'm uncomfortable with the idea of taking more material away. I mean, the low spots down at the bottom really don't matter, but up top you see just below the ring, there's going to be that because of the different thicknesses, because of that top ring. I mean, that just happens. But overall, cylinders are nice and square. There's no rust of any kind. And now it has a nice crosshatch to burn those new rings in that we're going to drop back in here. So, I mean, it's definitely not as good as boring and honing, but for backyard cleanup, I think that's going to be fantastic. And we'll be able to compare later on what kind of compression we have, because this exact same scenario in my Fury was bored, it was honed, we did drop new pistons in it and rings, and I think I'm at 166 psi per cylinder on that engine. So when we're all done and we've broken in and warmed up, we'll run a compression test on this and just see how close we get in comparison to my other ride. But that's pretty great for now. I'm going to just throw some light oil on those so they don't get all rusty. Okay, another big day on the 383. Took all the rings out. I don't know if you can see inside there, but I cleaned all the ring lands. They have to be blown out and get in there with a little brush and just kind of get the little pieces out of there. But I broke a ring and scratched them all until they're nice and clean, as you see, and then I wire wheeled all the pistons on the sides and the top just to clean them all up. And so all those ring lands are ready to go. I've done 5 out of the 8, and my back is killing me, so I'm gonna shut her down for tonight. Feels good. Okay, I put all the pistons through a final clean. Brake cleaned everything, blew everything off. They're as clean as they're gonna get. And picked up my new ring set. Got everything laid out. I know my rags don't look very clean, but I actually put them through the commercial wash and put them back to work, so they're much cleaner than they look. Don't be too afraid. So we're going to go ahead and put rings on pistons. Then we're going to clean up the crank. And I picked up a rope seal. See if we can get the bottom end put together by the end of the weekend, which gives me about, I don't know, a day and a half, something like that. And then we can get back on cleaning parts and carry on from there. Yeah, there's not too much tricky with these. I do notice that the second ring has a top to it, and oddly enough, the top ring does not have anything at all. Not a dimple, not a dent, and not a bevel. These are Hastings rings, but they are just factory replacements, so there's nothing trick to them. We're going to go ahead and get those installed and see where that leads us. So we've got the new rope seal installed in the block. I've oiled it up, dropped the crank in, torqued down the mains, rotated it a few times, just kind of press it into place. And these are extremely difficult to cut. And I was chatting with my buddy Rob, who owns the block shop, and he was kind enough to lend me his rear main seal cutters. It's kind of cute because it comes in this bag that says rear main seal only. These are not to be messed with, and they are razor sharp. So those ones, we're going to try nipping those, and I have them set up here in the seal retainer. So we're going to try and give those a cut and see how we do. This might sound crazy, but I'm going to try and cut these in the block. Maybe that's not going to work well for me, but these pliers do lay flat on the surface. Oh yeah, that's a beauty. Yeah, we fought with that on a previous engine. I want to say it was the Buick. Okay, well that feels like a success. Taking that for a close-up in a minute. In the meantime, we will try the seal. See if I get the same success here. Same tape. That is a nice tool. Just put it flat across the surfaces, rest it on both sides, hold it as flat as I can. Take off any sort of stragglers. Okay, that looks amazing. Okay, one last thing to worry about. One other thing I forgot to mention is Rob insists that the rear main seal gets soaked in oil. He likes to do 24 hours. We'll see what I can do here today. But both halves are now going to soak in oil. I'm going to go find some food, come back later, and we'll see if they're still bubbling.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking it out. That was very kind of Myles to record all that for us. Please hit the old like button for our buddy Myles, and we'll see everybody in a couple of days. No Frankers today because she's at the salon getting her Christmas haircut done. Anyway, she'll be looking very nice for the Christmas video, and I'm going to get back to work welding up Ashley's Datsun. He's on his way over. So we'll see you guys very soon for more of the regular contributor.
Same old shit.